Hello, my beautiful tribe, and welcome back. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about clairsentience, the ability of clear feeling. To learn more, stay tuned. Technical difficulties. Welcome back. My name is Bradley with Wildfire and Earth, and I am meeting you in my lovely living room today. I've been running some errands, and I just wanted to have a little sit down with y'all before I dove into the content of this video about clairsentience. Is that as you're learning about these things, even if you have some of them mastered, or if you've been practicing these abilities for years and you've studied them and you experience them in real life, the moment you start creating a class, Spirit always likes to play some really fun little tricks on you and give you like a little more of an insight or teach you something that you didn't know about the subject, and it also shares more of what is going on in your energetic life and what you need to upgrade on. So as I'm teaching these classes and talking to you guys about these different abilities, I keep getting deeper and deeper into this. And I don't know if it's just because we are moving from the Gemini season into the next full moon that's going to be in Cancer and all these fun things. And Mercury retrograde is coming up. There's a lot of energy going on collectively and going around. We also have Pride Month this month. So there are a lot of people that are in their feels. So this is the perfect video for this month with clairsentience. It is all about tapping into what your gut is telling you and how you feel. So clairsentience is basically clear sense. So that means that what you sense or what you feel is true, and it's a gut intuition. It's also like how you feel in a building, or how you feel around a person, whether you feel drained or whether you feel invigorated after you talked with these people, or whether you feel good in a building, or whether it gives you the heebie-jeebies and gives you goosebumps. It doesn't always mean that there is negative entities around or negative beings or anything bad or even demonic. Literally, it doesn't have to mean that. It can just mean that that energy does not harmonize with your personal energy. And so it sends an alert through your body that something here is not for your highest good. And it also can be mirroring something within you that you need to change and upgrade. Empathy and clairsentience are very, very closely related. So today, I actually was running some errands and I got to use clairsentience in a way that I haven't done in a long time. But I was about to go run and get some coffee creamer and some coffee, because coffee is super important. It keeps the world going. It's magical bean water. It's fabulous. But I know I don't advocate the use of drugs. But it is wonderful. So and it's legal. But one of the things that I got to do is I lost my keys. And I texted my partner, and we could not find the keys. We couldn't find it in our art room. We couldn't find it in the living room. We couldn't find them on the coffee table or the kitchen table where we normally leave these things for each other to find. Well, so I had the money and I was ready to go, but I didn't have the keys. And so I was like, this is driving me crazy. And something told me, go find your pendulum and use your pendulum to figure out where your keys are. And believe it or not, I walked through each room of the house, starting at the doorway, because that was where we last had it. We last had it coming in the doorway. Well, I looked on the other side of the door to make sure they weren't still stuck in the door at some point when we were walking back and forth. That I've been known to do that. And then, so I was walking and the pendulum kept saying, no, it's not here. So for me, what I do with the pendulum is I hold it in my left hand, and then I ask the pendulum to tell me yes or no answers. And you can kind of play a game of hot and cold trying to find something. Okay, so what I did is I walked through the house and I just kept following it whenever it was swinging back and forth like a head moving up and down for yes, okay? That's exactly what it was doing. So it was taking me towards the keys. Well, I tried to turn towards the art room and it said, nope, they're not in here. And that's the last place we thought the keys were, or that's the last place they were seen or remembered to be seen. So they weren't in there. I went into the bedroom. Nope, they're not under the bed. So then I walked down the hallway and I went into the kitchen where the table would be, where we keep a lot of our bills and things. And nope, not there either. That's usually where it would be too. So I'm running out of options. So I finally went to our coffee table here and they weren't there either. But I noticed my cats and I just had this feeling, which is clairsentience, a feeling. So if you say it like, I felt like I needed to call you, or I feel like I should talk to this person, follow your intuition and do it. Those are the best ways to tap into clairsentience, is by continuing to listen to the voice. The more you listen to that voice, the stronger it becomes. Okay, so for the finale of the story, I finally went to my cats and I had to separate them because I got a yes answer over the two cats. I have Artemis and Balthier, and Khajiit was fine. Khajiit had nothing to do with it. He was innocent as always. It was his little brother, Balthier, the little trickster, the one who likes to play with things, who had got the yes response. So I moved Artemis out of the way from beside him just to make sure that it was actually him. And yep, ding, 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 the pendulum said yes, he's got it. So the funny part is that I was like, well, Balthier, where did you put it? So I looked under the hutch, I looked under tables, I looked under shoes, I looked under books, I looked everywhere that he could have pushed this toy. And it's so funny how spirit likes to show you things. I kept going back to Balthier and it would say yes. And then finally I realized the first time it got a yes, he was sitting in a chair. So I went over to the chair and it's pretty low to the ground. I went over to the chair and tipped it over, and lo and behold, there are the keys. So I'm not 100% sure if Balthier actually moved the keys there or if they fell off the counter when we were trying to get ready this morning and moving some books and artwork around. I'm not sure if they fell then and they just rolled or flew under the chair, or if they fell and then Balthier inevitably played with it as he's wont to do. He's 2 years old, so he's in that stage of cat where they still like to play and hide things, and if there's anything on the floor, it is free game for them to play it, especially if it makes noise. So now, cats and pets, that brings me to a whole other subject of clairsentience. If you enjoy having cats and pets around, you are probably a clairsentient person, because clairsentience gives you the ability to hear the thoughts and feelings of other beings, not just humans. You can pick up on animals. Horses are great. People that have worked with wild animals like lions and tigers and bears and even whales in SeaWorld, these people feel that some of these animals can actually communicate to them through their feelings, and they get to know them how they're actually feeling. So clairsentience is actually the ability to pick up on the 75% of nonverbal communication, which all of our communication, 75% of our communication is non-verbal. That means it shows up in our body language, it shows up in our facial expressions, the way we speak, the way we act when we're speaking, and how we look at someone and how we perceive that person is all nonverbal communication. Clairsentience is literally the ability to pick up on these nonverbal cues and listen to the universe through that person. It's because, as I've taught through the other videos, we are all connected. So if we are all connected, there is nothing, there is no information, there is no secret that should remain hidden from us, which is so cool, because God says we are children of Him. and we are created in his own image. So if God knows all things and he sees all things, that means we have the potential to innately grow these abilities within us. And as we get more and more connected spiritually, we begin to tune into and open up to these spiritual gifts. Now, if you are sitting here and thinking, I don't have any spiritual gifts whatsoever, it's okay. Don't freak out. See, here's the thing. In my belief, there are different lifetimes at which we learn different things. Okay? It's like going to school. We choose to go into these lifetimes. We choose to specialize and learn in specific areas. Some of us came into this life with already innate existing abilities. That means that in those past previous lives, we already did some hardcore work in opening our third eye, cleansing our pineal gland, and connecting to these divine sacred energies. And even some Eastern traditions and some Gnostic and occult traditions teach that it involves the opening and awakening of Kundalini. Now, you can do that through yoga, you can do that through meditation. It does take time. And even if you were born into this life with innate abilities, those abilities are shut off until triggered to open. So that means some people very rarely come into this world ready and hardwired and ready to go. But sometimes it takes videos like this and listening and taking classes and working on and learning and meditating and communicating with your higher self to tap into these abilities. Now, if you don't experience all of the Clair gifts or spiritual gifts, it's okay. It does not mean that you're not doing it. It just means that you haven't tuned into the right frequency. Now, I was talking earlier about the pendulum. The pendulum is a great way to tap into how you feel when you are receiving information. A lot of the times, your mind will tell you how the pendulum is going to move. Now, if you are highly telekinetic, be careful using the pendulum because you can actually influence and move it. You can do the same thing with tarot cards. You can do the same thing with any divination. It is not 100% accurate because sometimes our egos get in the way. Sometimes we're just not connecting to the right energy. And sometimes we just don't want to know my hair. Sometimes we just don't want to know exactly what the right answer is. So it will be vague and it will be odd. And sometimes spirit doesn't want to tell you the answers. See, that's the thing. Using these spiritual gifts isn't always going to allow you to just see into the future or just figure out exactly what you want to know. Sometimes it's the best teacher in that it shows you where to look without actually telling you what you're looking for. Like me, I knew I had to use the pendulum. Like I just knew that. I felt it. It was just a feeling. So that is clairsentience, going with your gut. Clairsentience could be telling someone not to go somewhere, not to take a trip, or I don't have a good feeling about that. A lot of the times, clairsentience is really powerful whenever two or more people are together, because clairsentience is usually based off of tapping into someone else's energy and reading what that information is feeling. Okay, so if you have a bad feeling about something or someone or an event, be sure to speak up, because you might be in life-altering change or just make somebody be aware that something bad can happen or that something could happen. And so then in effect, some would say you could make it happen, but I don't think that's actually how it works. I think it's given to us so that we can avoid these pitfalls and avoid different areas roads that we don't want to go down. So using the pendulum, you can really get a good sense and feeling of how your intuition works. You know, sometimes just feeling like you need to call somebody and you call them and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called. I just found out something horrible. That is your innate connection to other people. So for the exercises for the Clairsentience, I'm going to give you 2 different exercises. The first exercise is going to be a pendulum exercise, where you actually have someone where you can actually sit down and interview a pendulum to find out about an event in the future, or find out about someone, like say someone needs to go to the doctor and there's something wrong. Ask the pendulum, figure out what's wrong. Try to discuss it with them and see, hey, the pendulum told me this. And be sure to say, I'm not a doctor. You are not diagnosing. That is illegal unless you have a PhD. So you just have to be very careful about doing that. But it's okay to do casually and just as an information for someone. You don't want to do fear mongering. You don't want to be like a WebMD and walk around and tell everybody you're dying from a paper cut. That would be terrible. But you could tell them there might be something going on with their liver, or there may be something going on with their lungs, or they might want to have the doctor run specific tests to find out. Normally that person, if they know how they are feeling, are going to totally agree with you and be like, yeah, that's exactly how it feels. Now, if it's off, it may be something energetically that they can handle. Because remember, our bodily system, we think of it as separate. As human beings, we compartmentalize everything. So we think we have the endocrine system, and we have the nervous system, and we have the circulatory system, and we have the digestive system. All of those things are all part of the human body. That's kind of like saying that certain areas of certain towns are not in that town, when in fact they do fall under the city limits, and it takes all of them individually working together to create the town. Okay, that's the same way as, like, if you look at our bodies as an engine, it takes all those moving parts and all those different systems to keep the car running healthily. So that is what our systems do. So if you're tapping in and you're feeling something, or a weakness, or a negative block, or something going on in someone's energetic system, that can actually be affecting other systems around it or that are connected to it. And it may be the root cause, or it may be one of the greater symptoms, or a silent symptom that they haven't even caught up with yet. So it's really interesting that Spirit can give us answers to look into things that we would not normally think about or look into. So interview someone, or conversely, you can have someone hide something in your home, or the next time you lose your keys, or if you need directions, or if you're looking for something, like wanting to buy a house, take your pendulum with you and use it to guide you on your journey to find what you need. You set the intent and you say, I want to find my keys, or I need to find a new home. Take the pendulum and drive through town, preferably ride through town, have someone else drive you, or walk, and follow the pendulum. And if it gives you big yes answers, then go to those places and look for them. Those are places that you're needed, places that your energy would feel safe and secure. If it's a big no, ask yourself why. Ask the pendulum why. Ask different questions. Is this a bad neighborhood? Are the neighbors not great? Would I not be accepted here? Is my energy not needed here? Would it be just, conflicting views, or what's going on? The pendulum can usually answer those questions. So that is the first exercise. Use a pendulum. It's really easy to make a pendulum or even buy one. You can find them online now. You can find them at occult shops. You can find them at herbal shops, and a lot of different Whole Food stores carry pendulums now. But the easiest way to do it is use a necklace. You can, if the more energy that you have around the necklace, so if it's your favorite necklace and you wear it all the time, it's a great impromptu pendulum to use because it has your energy on there. And then also, if you wanted to, you could just take a string and put like a little bolt. Nope, nut. Take the little nut, that goes around it, that screws up on a bolt, the little circle, tie it on the end of a string so that it's weighted. As long as it's weighted, literally I've used a stick in the middle of nowhere on a string, and you can do it that way. I've even heard of some people using hair and a ring and all kinds of different ways to create pendulum. Get creative with it. Make your own pendulum. If you make it, I can guarantee you it's going to give you way better answers than if you go out and purchase it, because it takes a lot of cleansing and activating for those type of things, because it has a lot of people's energy on it. But if you make it yourself, it's going to definitely work exactly how you want, and it will be more in tune to your energy. So the second exercise is going to be what I like to call cord attachment. Now, we always talk about cutting cords and releasing connections. Yes, you do that for connections that are not serving your highest good. But as a healer, as a shaman, whenever I am working with people and I am wanting to tap into their energy, I create a energetic cord between me and that person, and that allows the clairsentient ability to run along those lines. It's kind of like using the tin cans with a string tied to another person and talking in a different room. It's very similar to doing that. Actually, you can use that imagery that you're literally listening, so then that taps into your clairaudience abilities. But instead, you're asking to feel how they feel in their body. So clairsentience actually gives you the ability to, with me, a lot of the times with clients that have heart problems or they have lung problems, I get pain in my chest. I've even gotten pains in my elbows, ankles, knees, neck, headache, just little things that if you are tapping into someone's energy and all of a sudden you get physical sensations within your body, those are clairsentient moments where you are actually feeling how that person feels. And I'm like, if someone has a broken bone, I'm not going to tell you that your bone is actually going to feel broken. You may just feel like a pain or a tingling or a warmth or a coldness. Now, see, this is where everything gets a little tricky, because there's no right solid guide to what you feel and what the other person is actually perceiving or actually struggling with. So with me, that's where the intuition comes in. If hot or cold is a good or a bad thing for you, that means what it means for you personally. So part of clairsentience and part of knowing these spiritual gifts is also knowing yourself. That's why anytime heroes or generals or emperors or kings went to the Oracle of Delphi, the first thing they read emblazoned across the top was "Know thyself." You have to know yourself to figure out how you can relay information accurately. Because if you don't know what spirit is telling you, if you just get these aches and pains and odd feelings all the time, but you don't really understand what they're telling you, you're not doing anyone any good. It's just a one-way conversation. The buck stops with you. You're not relaying the information back. So that's a great way for empaths and people that are clairsentient to release this information and release this energy, is by simply relaying what they perceive and then disconnecting. So that's the beautiful part of exercise 2, is you make an energetic connection with someone you care about or someone you love, or possibly you're working with a client and you're wanting to tap into their energy. All you have to do is create a connection from your heart. That's what I do. I make a connection from my heart, because my heart is going to guide me in ways of loving and of the higher self. It's going to tell me how I need to help this person with unconditional, compassionate love. If it behooves me to tell them this information, my heart will tell me. Sometimes there's going to be things that you won't pick up and you won't know, and it will come as a shock to you. but that's because Spirit is not wanting you to convey that information at this time, or it would have hurt more if you would have told them at that time and possibly even made it worse. So just follow your heart and follow the wisdom of your gut feelings and the sensations from your heart. Figure out, you can even sit down while you're doing this and ask your body, or even utilize the pendulum in this one. Ask the pendulum, does hot sensations mean good or bad for me? Does a cold sensation mean good or bad? Does a tingling sensation mean good or bad? Figure out, like, ask some leading questions. Does tingling have to do with a blockage? You know, like as in like my foot's asleep, so therefore the blood circulation was blocked off. So that could be the tingling sensation, could be that there is a blockage in there and that it's not getting the flow of energy that it needs to. Because remember, in Eastern and occult traditions, they teach that there are chi points and meridians on our body that kind of run through us like a river, and it moves like our bloodstream. It moves this energy throughout our body to power us in a beautiful esoteric way. And what's neat is, whenever I was learning about reflexology of the feet, we learned that a lot of the meridians and things end at the feet. They start up in the head and they end in the feet. But what it is I saw a diagnostic of the meridians, like an old Eastern chart of the meridians, and then it had a side-by-side of a chart of the human nervous system. They literally almost lined up perfectly. So these nerves, I think they tell us a little more than what science says. They're a little easier to tap into, or it allows us to tap into more information than I think our sciences actually understand. So that's what's beautiful about what we call magic now, is at one point healing people was magic. At one point setting a bone was magic. Now we know the physics behind it. Magic is just physics and science that hasn't been explained yet, that has no explanation. So someday someone will be sitting here and telling you exactly how clairsentience works, and exactly how clairvoyance works, and exactly how all of these spiritual gifts work. But luckily, we don't have that right now. So it's beautiful that we can explore it together and find out just how vast this goes. Because I think the hard part of explaining this is, just like with doctors, just because one person has this cold and the other person has the same cold, they don't react similarly. They have different symptoms. Each body is different. We are all so unique and so beautiful, and yet so essential to the fabric of this world. Thank you all for listening. I can't wait to make another video. I am actually going to try and make another video on Saturday so that we can get caught up for the week that I lost. If you have any questions or comments, please comment down below and ask about clairsentience or clairaudience or clairvoyance. If you have any other questions about the previous videos, you can find me on Facebook at Wildfire and Earth, and on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe down below, and thank you all so much. Remember, as you raise your vibe on this journey, you heal the tribe. Blessings.